When the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with their great substance.
This notion that black men are to be feared, and black men and black people are scary, is hilarious to me. Because historically speaking, white people, you guys have been the most dangerous motherfuckers on the planet. You wiped out the Indians, you kidnapped niggas, you repressed us for 400 years.
We brought blacks into this country as slaves. We never intended them to be anything other than a slave. But they began to grow in number and in power, and eventually they fought their way to some freedom. So we became even more cruel, and to keep our black Americans down, we lynched. But yet they rose. So then we used the welfare system, the criminal justice system, to keep them down, to contain them, to destroy them. But yet they rose, and they're rising. Then we built prisons and jails to hold them. Yet they rose. And so now we are doing exactly what the Pharaoh did at the end, sending out a decree, kill them. Our nation may end up facing exactly what the Egyptians faced when they refused to let God's people go. So I'm going to say this to my white fellow Americans, that the bloodshed that is on its way is not on the hands of our fellow black Americans, but is on our hands. We are the ones that are refusing to let God's people go.
We are committed to do our very best, not just to go to Washington and talk about justice or else, but what is the or else? Because every time God sent a prophet, in the message of the prophet, there was a threat and a warning. So it is today. America, you don't have a lot of time to play with the lives and the destiny of a people that God has chosen for himself. We are that people. We are the real children of Israel.
When I leave you today, the calamities are going to get stronger because God wants America to let us go, not integrate us. Let us go and give us a good send-off.
Now I have heard the groaning of the Israelites whom the Egyptians hold in slavery. And I have remembered my promise. Say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord. And I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out from under their bondage. And I will redeem you with a stretched out arm, and ye shall know that I am the Lord.
book of Genesis chapter 15 verse 12. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, Know of surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve, will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance.
Notice what the Most High said to Abraham, that his seed will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. Now Abraham knew that land. He knew Egypt. He knew Canaan. His seed didn't know this land. His seed has been afflicted in this land for 400 years. His seed has been afflicted for 400 years, and they have gone through 400 years of slavery, of Jim Crow, of hanging, of their women being raped, of all inconceivable things, gator bait, shooting of innocent people in the streets, shooting of our young men, shooting of all of our old women, just killing them indiscriminately to this day, having their cities bombed and destroyed, burgeoning cities like Black Wall Street destroyed at the hands of this wicked nation. But he also said that they would leave this nation and leave that nation with great substance. That's exactly what is going to happen to the Israelites. They're going to leave this place with great substance.
My son was outside. Now, this is pastor. He was an older guy. He was a black male. He put the Bible up to my son's chest, and he was saying, "Come, the children of Israel. This is our exodus." And he kept saying, "This is our exodus."
The book of Acts chapter 7 verse 6. And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. And the nation to whom they should be in bondage will I judge, said the Most High. And after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
Now, if you look at the comparisons and you understand how the Most High works, he will typically work in decency and in order. And he will also put things line up on line, precept on precept. The book says, at the mouth of two witnesses, let everything be established. The same thing that he was saying in Genesis chapter 15, he was saying yet again in Acts, which is thousands of years apart. Let's look at that for a second. Let's take a look at this for a second. He said that nation whom they will serve, meaning that you will be serving this nation, he's going to judge them. But then you're going to come out after you get through, after you finish, you're going to come out of that with great substance. But take a look at this. He also said in Acts 7 and 6 that they should bring them into bondage. You will be brought into bondage, just like Deuteronomy chapter 28:68 says, you will be brought into bondage with ships, which is talking about the transatlantic slave trade. But what it also says is that you will be entreated 400 years of evil. Now, have you not gone through 400 years of evil here? Have you not been beaten 400 years, at least 400 years beaten down?
Still establish a separate nation state.
That's not just my goal. That's what God wants. Most of our people don't want it yet. You love your enemy. You want to stay with your enemy. You're in love with his wealth. Oh, I understand the fascination, slaves. I understand that. But God has something else for us.
America, you have a shelf life, baby. And your time is about to end. And you know it. The politicians know it. The satanic evil principalities know it. And you're about to be brought down. He's about to bring recompense right back to your own head. He's going to bring recompense right to your own face. So America, and you leaders of America, and you world leaders, get ready. Because it's on with you and the Most High.
Their own time could ought to manage them all. The curse of the Pharaohs are a poor example of what Wakeland Plantation played.
White America, chapter 15 of Genesis, verse 14, is for us. God is going to punish us for how we have enslaved
our black brothers and sisters.
The Targums of Anchilas, Genesis 15 and 12 account. And when the sun was nearing to set, a deep sleep was thrown upon Abram. And behold, 4 kingdoms arose to enslave his children. Terror, which is Babel; darkness, which is Madai; greatness, which is Javan; decline, which is Phares, which is to fall, and to have no uplifting, and from whence it is to be that the children of Israel will come up. And he said to Abraham, knowing thou must know that thy sons shall dwell in a land not their own, because thou hast not believed, and they will subjugate and afflict them 400 years, and also that the people whom they shall serve I would judge with 250 plagues, and afterwards they shall go forth into liberty with great riches.
Now the last precepts that were read, if you look at it, these precepts came from the Targums of Onkelos. And so when you look at it, it was described as being 4 kingdoms. Now, if you look at a kingdom is not just one landmass, but it's global takeover.
Chapter 17. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
That kingdom is actually running the world. It's not synonymous to one landmass. So when you look at the kingdom that we're now under, it's not just the United States, but you can account the United States, Great Britain, all of the whole of Europe with their satanic, wicked, and evil practices. You can also look at South Africa. Anywhere where these people are, they are controlling. And it's not just the landmass, it's a global supremacy. But he also says something interesting here that actually proves that the 400 years does not account to Egypt. Because you have to also take into account that this is the 4th. It lists the kingdoms in order, the Targums does, but this is at the end. Targum says that the place or the kingdom will be judged and hit with 250 plagues. And then afterwards that the children of Israel will go forth in liberty with great riches. Now you have to ask yourself, when they were in Egypt, were they hit with 250 plagues? No, they were only hit with 10. So this world, this current satanic, bastard, lying, evil Roman system is going to get hit with 250 plagues, folks. 250. And guess what? You are actually witnessing them as we speak. You are seeing the 250 plagues as we speak. So you better get your mind right, Israel. You better get your mind right. You better get your life right. And you better start doing things decency and order according to what's written.
The Jerusalem Targums of Anchilas, Genesis 15 and 12 account. And when the sun was going to set, a sleep profound and sweet fell upon Abraham. And behold, Abraham saw 4 kingdoms which should arise to bring his sons into subjection. And terror, the greatness of darkness, fell upon him. Terror, that is Babel; darkness, that is Madai; greatness, that is Greece; fell, that is Edom; Rome, the 4th kingdom which is to fall, and never to rise again, forever and ever.
Okay, so you notice in the Targums that it mentions again 4 kingdoms. But what's interesting here is that it mentions the 4th kingdom as Edom being Rome. But the most critical part about this last and 4th kingdom is that this kingdom is the kingdom that is to fall and never to rise again forever and ever.
Thus saith the Lord God, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them, therefore thus saith the Lord God, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it. And I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword, I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger, and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord God.
Okay, so now we're going to look at 7 different points from the Genesis and Targum accounts. Point number 1, a key critical point is that Israel will serve under which particular kingdoms in the Targums, and we are given specific detailed information. Point number 2, and this is a very critical point, in that Rome would be identified as Edom, and they would be identified as the last kingdom. And when you think about the last kingdom, again, a kingdom is a world power, a world ruler, not some little faction or some little precinct. It's a world ruler, as we learned that in the past part of the video. Point number 3, we find out that the Most High will send plagues to the final kingdom. And we also found out in the Targums that there's going to be 250 plagues that hit this particular kingdom. 250 and not 10. Point number 4, we do not see Egypt mentioned at all in any of the accounts, whether they be the Targums or whether they line up on line, precept on precept in the KJV version. Point number 5, we find out that Israel will be brought into bondage. You find that in Genesis, and you also find it line upon line, precept on precept in the book of Acts. Point number 6, we also know that because of unbelief, Israel was carried away into captivity. When it says that you were carried away, that represents Deuteronomy 28:68, where he says he will send you into bondage or into Egypt again with ships. And we also know that with the different accounts that Egypt and bondage are synonymous with slavery. Point number 7, you also see that Israel is to leave with great substance and riches. That's defined in the Targums. That's also defined in the account that the Most High gave to Abraham. Now, this next point, what we're going to do is we're going to give a breakdown of each of these bullets as they are presented in the Bible. And this will be our source of confirmation. So now we're going to take a look at the kingdoms that Israel will serve under. Notice I say that Israel will serve under these particular kingdoms, and there are 4. We're also going to contrast what the Targums say and what the King James Version of the Bible says. First, we're going to read I'm going to give you a commentary on what the Targums say. Targum tells you what we read earlier in the past precepts, that the first one would be terror, that is Babel. The second one would be darkness, that is Media. Now, those two, the first one, Babel, being a term that is used for Babylonian, and darkness, that is Media, Persia, greatness, that is Greece, and fail, the last one, fail, that is Edom or Rome. But you will also notice that there is something missing. These kingdoms are identified in the book of the prophet Daniel, but there's something missing there. Where is Egypt? Is Egypt mentioned in the Targums? Let's contrast that with the King James Version Bible.
So if anyone out there teaching that Israel was in captivity for 400 years, you're in error, and according to historians, you're not credible.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 3. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
In Daniel 7:3, it says 4 great beasts came up from the sea. They were talking about 4 specific beasts. The first beast, it says, was like a lion in Daniel 7:4. It had eagle's wings. Now, this first beast we know is identified as Babylonia, or as the Targum says, terror that is Babel. Now, if I look at these two contrasts, what's missing? Again, King James Version Bible doesn't talk about Egypt being served in bondage. So Egypt could not have been a place where they served in terms of being identified as a kingdom that would be ruling over the Israelites.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
Now let's take a look at the second beast for a moment. The second beast was likened to a bear. Now this particular beast was going to devour much flesh. This beast is known as the Persian Empire. The Targums identify this particular beast as Media, and you can say that this is Medo-Persian. Now, what's interesting about this beast, and I'm going to bring up a topic: Christianity, and their eschatological view is that this second beast is the Russians, which is ridiculous, because what Daniel saw the end-to-end of the 4 kingdoms that will be ruling Israel and would be ruling the world. And so how could this be Russia when Daniel saw the end-to-end and this is the second kingdom?
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Now let's look at the third. The third kingdom was like, the book of Daniel says, was like a leopard. Now this kingdom is the Greeks, or the Grecians. That's what Daniel's vision saw, and that's what Daniel saw. He saw the Greeks. The Targums identify this beast as Greece as well. And so the Targums contrasted with the King James Version of the Bible, they line up hand in hand. Put both your hands together, you can look at the Targums and you can look at what is said here. And so again, I'm going to throw Christianity under the bus again. If he saw Greece, why did he see the bear Russia second when he saw Greece third? That doesn't line up, Christianity. So you could take your lying prophets like that liar who's got all those books out. I can't call the guy Hal Lindsey, that liar. You can call out any other liar that thinks they know prophecy, which they shouldn't be teaching prophecy. They've never been given no prophecy. If they read line upon line, precept upon precept, you would know that he is not talking about Russia. He is talking about all 4 kingdoms that would rule over Israel.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night's vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in the horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Now let's go to the last one. The last and 4th beast Daniel saw in his vision, the Roman Empire. Now, this beast is also in the Targums called Edom. This is the 4th beast. That's how the Targum recognizes it. So when you think about Edom, and when you think about who is controlling the earth, who is actually running and controlling the earth right now? The Roman Empire did not stop and end with Rome. There's a phrase that all of you need to go look up called the Holy Roman Empire. The Roman Empire includes and is the whole Western construct. The Roman Empire includes all of these entities. I call them entities because that's what they are. It includes the United States. It includes the whole of Europe. It includes South Africa. It also includes Israel. It also includes Vatican Roma. So it's not just one particular precinct or area.
No, this is the center of the universe. If I were living in Roman times, I would live in Rome. Where else? And today, America is the Roman Empire. New York is Rome itself. John Lennon.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night's vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Another common thread is that this kingdom would be diverse from all other kingdoms. Now, you will notice about this particular kingdom, I mentioned several different nationalities of people. But what I'm also going to mention is, if you look at the United States and what they bring to most nations now, is they bring together this myth of multiculturalism. The United States is considered a melting pot. They have also done that to parts of Europe. And so why have they done this? They're trying to bring you in, make you feel as if you're included. Your nations are diverse. This nation is diverse. Yeah, that is true. However, we should not be thinking about fighting in any wars that this nation gets us into, because number one, this nation is not a beacon. The United States is not a beacon for morality. It is not a beacon of good. It is not a beacon for justice. It is a beacon of wicked and evil. Point blank, period, just like that. The United States is 100% wicked. The United States is 100% evil. This Western construct called Rome is going around and destroying the whole earth. And they want to kill everybody on it, save themselves. That is the plan. You look at the Georgian Guidestones. The Georgian Guidestones tell you that they want to reduce the population down to 500 million, but 500 million of who? 500 million of what people? And where are they getting this ridiculous idea from? That's a sick mind. Africa can't rise up because you are always involved.
So how does the West ensure that the free aid keeps coming? By systematically destabilizing the wealthiest African nations and their systems, and all that backed by huge PR campaigns, leaving the entire world under the impression that Africa is poor and dying and merely surviving on the mercy of the West. Well done, Oxfam, UNICEF, Red Cross, Life Aid, and all the other organizations that continuously run multi-million-dollar advertisement campaigns depicting charity porn to sustain that image of Africa globally. Ad campaigns paid for by innocent people under the impression to help with their donations. While one hand gives under the flashing lights of cameras, the other takes in the shadows. We all know the dollar is worthless, while the euro is merely charged with German intellect and technology, and maybe some Italian pasta. How can one expect donations from nations that have so little? It's super sweet of you to come with your colored paper in exchange for our gold and diamonds. But instead, you should come empty-handed, filled with integrity and honor.
Edom is always involved using Hegelian dialect to destroy. The so-called African Americans here in the United States, we know why they can't rise. They need to get their act together. You need to get back to the law, statutes, and commandments and have faith in Mashiach, just like that. But Edom, oh man, the book, it said you are dreaded. And if I look at all the wickedness that you've done since you've been in power, you have done some wicked and terrible things to a lot of different people. But guess what? Comeuppance is coming to you. Trust and believe that. The Most High not gonna let you get away. That's why you have always feared entities or individuals like Nat Turner. You've always feared them because you know that we are supposed to be exacting vengeance on you. You know it. And it's coming.
Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever.
The Jerusalem Targums of Anchilas, Genesis 15 and 12 account. And when the sun was going to set, a sleep profound and sweet fell upon Abraham. And behold, Abraham saw 4 kingdoms, which should arise to bring his sons into subjection. And terror, the greatness of darkness, fell upon him. Terror, that is Babel. Darkness, that is Madai. Greatness, that is Greece. Fell, that is Edom. Rome, the 4th kingdom which is to fall, and never to rise again, forever and ever.
So based on the study that we've been doing in this documentary, we definitely, without no uncertain terms, know that the Targums and the book of Daniel identifies this 4th beast as the Roman Empire. And so let's take a look at what the Jewish Encyclopedia says about who Rome is. This is a Jewish encyclopedia. The name Edom is used by Talmudists to describe the Roman Empire. And in every passage, it applies Rome as being Edom or Esau. So what does that tell you? The Israelis know that they are related to Rome. What's beautiful about the Roman Empire is that it tells on itself. It tells you how wicked they are and how foolish they are with their movies.
Knowing that this movie was coming out, we weren't surprised when it was banned. The reason, though, was different from the past. The Ministry of Culture saying that it showed history from a Zionist viewpoint and forged historical events.
Egypt bans film Exodus, Gods, and Kings because of historical inaccuracies. Exodus, Gods, and Kings have received its fair share of criticism for whitewashing ancient Egyptians. And now the film has been banned in Egypt on the grounds of, quote, historical inaccuracies. Ridley Scott's epic, based on the Bible's book of Exodus, stars Christian Bale as Moses and Joel Edgerton as Egyptian Pharaoh Ramses. But despite the Hollywood pulling power, the country's censors were unimpressed with the film's claim that an earthquake sparked the famous parting of the Red Sea rather than a divine miracle, and another suggestion that Jews...
The director of Gods of Egypt, Alex Proyas, apologized for casting mostly white actors in his upcoming film based on Egyptian mythology.
For there shall arise false Christ.
There shall arise false Christ. If the Bible never described Jesus Christ, how would you know if a false Christ was in front of you or not? You got to know what he looked like.
You don't think the nations realize that? That's the reason why they're coming out with these things, to put you back in chains,
exactly.
To put you back in mental destruction, to destroy your families, to destroy your children. That's what it's about.
With their satanic practices, and not only that, but how they tell on themselves is with also their holidays, they holy days. They not holy nor is they holy. You got all these Babylonian practices that these people practice. Why is that? Huh? The Khazarians ain't no more Israelites or Israel than a Chinese man. Okay, so look at this paradox. Your Talmud tell you that you're Rome, but you tell the world with your face that you Israel. How is that? The Jewish Encyclopedia telling you flat out who you are and what you are, and your wickedness and your practices show 100%. Who's the blood drinkers on the earth? There's no difference between Netanyahu and the Pope. Both of them drinking blood and sacrificing babies on some altar. The Catholic priest touching on children. Who are we talking about? Idumea? What is Idumea? It's the same as Edom. It's the same. It's the same as Israelis. It's the same as Romans. It's the same as Russians. It's the same as British. They all the same. And for those of you that think that Edom is not Rome, you go ask a Talmudist what he thinks. And you go read their documentation and their literature and see what they think. And they'll tell you flat out, well, yeah.
The book of Revelations, chapter 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Mashiach was crucified.
Let's look at some of the characteristics and attributes of the Roman Empire. You'll be able to really see that it's not just the U.S., but it's a diverse and world empire or world kingdom. But if we look at their practices, it's definitely Egyptian. You look at their money system. You look at the money, how they exchange. You look at the back of their money. It's got Egyptian symbology on it. Why is that? You ever ask your question, well, this is a different nation from Egypt, and yet we got pyramids, we got all-seeing eye, we got some eagle with some. What's all that symbology mean, and what does it mean to the individuals who are in the know? So look at that very, very closely, folks. Start doing some research on what that really means, because you will find that it all points back to the same source.
Nile River. And as you can see, it flows all the way down. All the way down. And you see, much of civilization started with this river, as all these cities are all based around the river, including Thebes. But what else do you see? On this river, you see that about 30% of the land is separated to the east and about 60 or 70% to the west of the river. Now, what else do you see? On this river, you see a city called Memphis. And if I zoom in a little bit, it's just south of Cairo, Memphis, right here. Where else have I heard that before? Let's keep going. Okay, so if we go here, what is one of the longest rivers in America? Not the longest, but one of them. The Mississippi. Wow, just like the Nile for Egypt. And let's see if I could get a bigger map here. Wow, about 30% of the land is east of this river, and about the rest of the 60 is west. Just like Egypt. 30% over here, 60% over there. It's no different. But wait, you see this long river that gives America much life and substance? Just like the Nile in Egypt? What city do you see on this river that matches this one? Right here. Memphis. Where else have I seen Memphis before? Oh yeah, Memphis, Tennessee, right here. Wow. Here is Giza, which is very close to Memphis. And as you can see, here's the pyramids of Giza, here's the Sphinx, and all of ancient Egypt, as they like to call it, the cradle of civilization. You see a pyramid right here in Memphis, in the Mississippi right here, just like you see the ancient pyramids right here, right close, right next to the Nile River, in a city that's on the Nile called Memphis, in Africa's longest river, the river that gave civilization, just like the river that gives America civilization right here, the Mississippi. And you see Memphis right there on that river. Where else do we see more facts and proof of ancient Egypt here in America today? Well, let's keep going. As we see here, we're back in Memphis, we're back at the pyramid. Look who's there! They have a statue of Ramses the Great right in Memphis, right in front of the pyramid. Wow! An ancient pharaoh that was probably worshipped as a god back then, right in front of the pyramid, in modern day Memphis, Tennessee. Just like they have the Sphinx right in front of the pyramids of Giza, close to Memphis, Egypt. According to this map, if we go a little bit south, we can find the Luxor, which is in about this area here of modern-day Egypt. It's still on the Nile. Where else do we see a pyramid in today's Egypt, America, with the Luxor? I know! The Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas. This is a picture of the ancient city of Luxor, and look at what you see. You see a big phallic symbol of the obelisk, which is a phallic symbol and is embedded with sun worship and Nimrod worship and ancient god worshiping, and is in fact abominable with ancient statues and everything else. But where else do you see a pyramid and the Luxor? Here in Las Vegas. I see a pyramid right here in Las Vegas. And I see a Sphinx here in Las Vegas as well. Wow, is that a coincidence? Could this be telling me that America is in fact modern-day Egypt?
It's all wicked and satanic. Let's look at the practice of sodomy in the United States. It's okay for you to be LGBT. You having man laying with another man. The book say that's an abomination and you should be killed. Am I advocating that you kill people? No, but you should go according to what the book say, and the book say that sodomy is an abomination to the Most High.
I can object to Paul and say, Dear Paul, maybe you are wrong.
So, a Bible was published by homosexuals, especially for themselves, with a rainbow cross. A Bible in which the Holy Scripture is modified. In the real Bible, for example, it says, Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. In the gay Bible, Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind in the temple of Moloch. It is an abomination. Which means that sodomites are saying that it's not allowed to conduct homosexual acts in the temple of Moloch, but outside of it, it's acceptable.
A lot of breaking news here this morning. The breaking story just moments ago, the Supreme Court and this landmark ruling, the court making same-sex marriage legal in this country across every state in this nation.
Look at the Babylonian practices. The Babylonian, what's your holidays? Y'all celebrate and spend tons of money economically on all of these wicked satanic holidays. You got Christmas. What do you so-called Christians, you so-called Americans, and you African Americans, so-called, is you really Israelites? Y'all shouldn't be spending a damn nickel on Christmas. Now, last time I checked, and I could be wrong, the United States or one of these wicked nations may have made a rabbit that can lay eggs. I don't know. But last time I checked, a rabbit ain't laid no eggs. No, that's to the goddess Ashtar or whatever wicked name you want to call her.
Here's for me the one big question. How do you get crucifixion, resurrection, and then chocolate bunnies, colored eggs? How do you do that one? Even kids are going,
rabbits don't lay eggs. What is this?
You can call it whatever you want. You can call it Ishtar, Ashtar, whatever. But that's to that wicked entity. The book is not talking about no Good Friday. You want people to be patriotic and stand for the flag and celebrate the 4th of July when our people were slaves.
What, to the American slave, is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty, an unholy license. Your national greatness, swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. There's not a nation of the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument, is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour forth a stream, a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and the crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced.
Think about that for a second. You celebrate a holiday when your people were slaves, and the independence is not talking about your independence.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 9. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Most High Elohim, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dry, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts.
So now if we take a look at Revelations 11 and 8, and how it reads, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city. We look at the dead bodies. Look at the dead bodies of Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice, that breaks my heart. They all break my heart. Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, and that's just the list that is growing day by day.
In the past decade alone, January 24th, 2004, Timothy Stansberry, Brooklyn, New York, unarmed. November 25th, 2006, Sean Bell, Queens, New York, unarmed. January 1, 2009, Oscar Grant, Oakland, California, unarmed. January 29th, 2010, Aaron Campbell, Portland, Oregon, unarmed. July 18th, 2011, Alonzo Ashley, Denver, Colorado, unarmed. March 7th, 2012, Wendell Allen, New Orleans, Louisiana, unarmed. September 14th, 2013, Jonathan Farrell, Charlotte, North Carolina, unarmed. July 17th, 2014, Eric Garner, Staten Island, New York, unarmed. August 9th, 2014, Michael Brown, Ferguson, Missouri, unarmed. In the past decade alone, these men and hundreds of others have lost their lives to police. Local police report to the FBI killing at least 400 people a year. From 2006 to 2012, a white police officer killed a black person at least twice a week in this country. Which brings us back to Ferguson, Missouri, where, according to a report in the Daily Beast, in 2009, police officers charged a man for property damage because he bled on their uniforms while they arrested him and allegedly beat him bloody. Ferguson, Missouri, where it took 6 days to release the name of an officer who shot an unarmed teenager to death. Ferguson, Missouri, where police released images of someone who might be Michael Brown involved in a store robbery, and then hours later said the robbery had nothing to do with why Michael Brown was stopped by the police officer who killed him. Ferguson is just outside St. Louis, Missouri, the place where, as historian Blair Kelly reminded us this week in The Root, Dred Scott sued for his freedom on the grounds that he and his wife had for many years lived in a free state. His case eventually went to the Supreme Court, and in 1857, Chief Justice Roger Taney declared that Scott had no right to sue because, as a black man, he was never intended to be an American. Speaking on the clause in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, Taney wrote, quote, "It is too clear for dispute that the enslaved African race were not intended to be included and formed no part of the people who framed and adopted this declaration." And he went on to say that black men had no rights which the white man was bound to respect. No rights which the white man was bound to respect. No rights which the white man was bound to respect. No rights which the white man was bound to respect.
And the Bible says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city." These dead bodies represent the Valley of Dry Bones, and the place is the land of our current captivity. That should be easy to spot and easy to understand, because if you think about it, so-called Israel, so-called African Americans, which you are really Israelites, you are still in captivity. You haven't left your captivity yet. You're in a land that is not yours. You speak a language that is not yours. So therefore, you are still in captivity. And these dead bodies that are the Valley of Dry Bones represent you.
The book of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. The book of John, chapter 15, verse 20. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me.
How dare you ask us, have we loved America? We have loved you forever, and you have always hated us. We have loved you consistently for 400 years. We prayed to that white Jesus, and we saluted your flag, and we died in your militaries, and you beat us like dogs. How dare you ask us, have we loved you? I have a question for you. When in the hell have you ever loved anybody but yourself? Give me Ezekiel 35. I'm looking you square in your eye and telling you this, that you are completely cruel.
The book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 30. The Elohim of our fathers raised up Mashiach, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree.
So let's look at the comparative notes of Mashiach and where he was crucified, that land being spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. You can contrast that with Acts 5 and 30, where the Creator of our fathers raised up Mashiach, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Let's take a look at that for a moment. It says whom you slew and hanged on a tree. They actually hung this man on a tree.
When the Klan burns a cross, it is a message. The next step will be a lynching. But as I watched the cross burning outside the church last night, it occurred to me that the crucifixion is just that, a lynching.
And hanged on a tree.
The crucifixion is just that, a lynching.
And hanged on a tree.
The crucifixion was just that, a lynching.
And hanged on a tree. And hanged on a tree. And hanged on a tree.
Our people are dead. Negroes are dead. Walking zombies. You're the one that the book is talking about who is dead. Dead to the knowledge of yourself. Dead to the knowledge of your own people. Dead to the knowledge of your own God. Dead to the knowledge of the devil. Why, you don't even know who the devil is. You think the devil is someone down inside the ground that's going to burn you after you're dead. Why, the devil is right here on top of this earth. He got blue eyes, blonde hair, white skin, and he's giving you hell every day. And you still too dead to see it. Because the picture of dry bones in the valley is talking about you. The picture of Lazarus laying dead 4 days is talking about you. You are Lazarus. You are the dry bones. You are the prodigal son. You are the lost sheep. You are the people about whom the Bible is speaking, who will stand up in the last day when the trumpet is sounded.
Okay, so to further contrast, if we take a look at Matthews 25 and 40, and what that says, and I'm going to short phrase it, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of my brethren, ye have done it also unto me. Now, if you contrast that with what I had previously said, you will see that what they did to Mashiach, and he said this clearly, that they will be doing this to the least of his brethren. The least of his brethren being the Israelites. And so the same thing that they did to him, they would be doing it to you. And so the act of hanging someone is actually symbolic of hanging Mashiach and mocking Mashiach and mocking his people. They know exactly what they do. It's not by accident. They understand that when they hang someone, that they are doing this in direct representative or representation of them hanging the Mashiach.
The book of Psalms, chapter 137, verse 4. How shall we sing the Most High song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. Remember, O Father, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundations thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us.
Okay, so I want to bring us back to what was read in Psalms 137:7, where the book says, remember, O Most High, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, raise it. Now, raise it means to demolish and to destroy. And so Psalms 137:7 wants the foundation destroyed. We go down to verse 8 of Psalms 137, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. It's telling you that Edom, which is the daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Now, the daughter of Babylon is actually the United States. It's a subset of the whole Babylonian Roman Western Empire. So anytime you see daughter of Babylon, you are pointing to the United States. O United States, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. So how we have been treated here and how we have been done here, that is going to be done unto you, America. That is going to be done to you, O daughter of Babylon. You are going to be destroyed to your foundation. The books say you are going to be uninhabitable. So those of you that's trying to make your life here in America, trying to make everything all sweet, nice, and great, those of you preppers, those of you who digging these tunnels like Dick Cheney, you trying to hide yourself in a tunnel, you know Mashiach is coming. He will come and snatch you up out of that tunnel, and he gonna kill you. He's gonna destroy this wicked place. Now let's take a look at let's further investigate this. Let's take a look at what this reveals and get some clarity about, even more clarity about this daughter of Babylon. This daughter of Babylon is not only associated with the Persians, but it's also associated, as I said earlier, with Esau. The practices of this place, we talked about that earlier, how we worship here, in other words, how the people here under the false religions, such as Christianity, such as Islam, such as Buddhism, you can name, and such as atheism, such as vote, your Republicans and Democrats, that's another religion. The Masonic temples, that's another religion. All these things that you have a belief in is a religion. Now, what is the important thing about having the Persian and Babylonian practices associated with Esau is that the scripture confirms this and refers to the last kingdom as Babylon. Consistently, it's referred to as Babylon. And that the Most High consistently tells Israel or Yasharallah to come out of Babylon. So how do you come out of Babylon, Yasharallah? You should already know that. The point being made here is that this final kingdom is going to have all the other wicked kingdoms before it that ruled Yasharallah wrapped up into one. You'll be able to point to Persian influence. You'll be able to point to Babylonian influence. You'll be able to point to Egyptian influence.
I'll say something. You people, you're not a race. You are a virus. You destroy the world. Everything beautiful you poison. You drag us from our homes. You rape our daughters, murder our sons. You crack our spines and do all you can to break our will. You stab us. Then you put the knife in our hand and tell us it's our fault. And if you don't do it yourself, you stand by, close your eyes, and pretend there's nothing wrong. And then you pray to your God to silence our screams so that you can enjoy the happiness that we built for you with our blood. But it's not your fault. It's the only way you know how to be. And the only thing that will change anything is if another virus comes along and does to you what you do to us. And I hope that happens very soon.
The book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Okay, so let's take a look at Revelations 18, 2 through 4. Revelations 18 and 2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. But the key part, it says, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and caged in every unclean and hateful bird. Now, if you look at the nations of the earth, what nation does that sound like? America is not the standard bearer of morality. America is the standard bearer of evil. All of these politicians is devils.
In 1897, racism was in the world.
That's right. That's right.
Right? You agree with me? Okay, so don't talk about Elijah like he invented racism. Racism was in the world. You got to understand now that he was born into a world where he was witnessing black men being lynched. He grew up in that era where black men were hung for no reason, where we were subject to all manner of disgusting treatment and disgusting laws. Ku Klux Klan killing us, burning us at the stake for no reason other than the fact that we were black people. Adolf Hitler engineered a program where he caused 6 million to be killed in gas chambers during the Second World War. Go to any self-respecting Jew today and ask them, what is Adolf Hitler? And they will tell you he was a devil.
That's right.
What is a devil? The word devil is a term that means, the word devil is a term that means one who devalues. A devaluer. Those Jewish lies were valuable in the eyes of God. But here is a man that comes along now and takes away the value of human beings and destroys them as a human reality. That is the act of a devil. Human beings who are devils in the manifest evil that they do. Now, that was over 4 years that Hitler was doing his devilishment.
Teach.
We can count back 400 years of the most brutal treatment. Look, they took my name, my language, my culture. They killed my mother, my father, denied me religion, disallowed me to read or write for over 300 years. Reduced me to the level of an animal where they branded me on my chest, branded me on my buttocks with a branding iron. And they called me 3/5 of a human being in the American Constitution. Is that the act of a human being or the act of a devil?
It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of her wrath. Now listen to this. All nations, just like Psalms 83 says, has always conspired against us, has always tried to press us down. Look at our neighborhoods. Who's making money off of us?
You can't keep banging your head against a wall and expecting the wall to give. That shit is cement. These people hate us. They hate us.
Oh, it was mine. You checked my purse. Get off. Get off.
You hit me. No.
Get off me. Cause you're tripping.
When your bread and butter is black people, the last thing I'm gonna do is piss off black people because I know they can end my business. But the reason why he had no problem doing what he did to her is because other groups of people really don't respect black people. And I'm gonna tell you why they don't respect black people. It's not that what they like to say to you, well, we don't respect you because you hurt each other. We don't respect you. No, they didn't care less about you killing off each other. That's not even the issue. They don't respect you because they have the pimp and hoe relationship with black people, and black people being the hoe. They are the pimp. I'm not talking about just Asians. I'm talking about whites and anybody else. Now let me explain to you what I mean by the pimp and hoe relationship. We are the hoe, and I'm talking about we as a collective, to everybody. Everybody use us and say, bring me my money. And we do this willingly.
They see you coming, they call you liquid money. Why? Because they're gonna get every nickel out of you. Listen, the Western construct was built on the backs of the so-called African Americans, the so-called slaves that were dispersed throughout the whole earth. Europe would not have become Europe had not they have free slave labor?
It doesn't matter whether you were around during slavery. It doesn't matter if your ancestors owned them or not. What matters is this: you benefit today from the enslavement of African people. And everyone who looks like you benefits in some way, shape, or form from the accrual of resources, of wealth, and of financial status that was reaped on the backs of my ancestors.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 20. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come.
Hebrews 11 and 20, as it states, by faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau. Now he blessed them concerning future things. So this is prophetic, how he blessed them. And this will be a perpetual blessing because it will go on and on and on, and they would exude these particular tendencies throughout their whole history. Now, this particular verse will be the foundation in understanding Esau's role and also identifying Esau's role through scripture and through prophecy. And you should be able to look at the blessings of each, both Jacob and Esau, and determine who's who and do a comparison of the blessings based on your observance today.
The book of Genesis, chapter 27, verse 37. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy master, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck.
So let's take a look at the foundation of understanding Esau's role concerning scripture and prophecy. What we want to look at here is we want to look at the blessings that Esau was given, and then also look at the attributes of these blessings, and then we'll make the comparison of what we see in Esau today. This right here will be able to allow you to identify exactly who Esau is. Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. Now let's take a look at that for a second. Who controls the oil? Your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, which means that you would have the best of the earth. You wouldn't be lacking in nothing at all. Who got all the gold? Well, it's definitely not Jacob. So the fatness of the earth, that's what he was promised, and that's what he got. Now, let's take a look at 27 and 40 right quick. And you could read the beginning of this and understand exactly who you are dealing with. And by the sword shalt thou live. Now, if you look at Esau, is Esau not a warlike entity? That's all that's on Esau's mind, is that he want to go out and kill.
Let's show them what the United States of America looks like up close and personal. Show them what a B-1 bomber looks like flying overhead. Show them what they're messing with. Put the fear of God in their desert.
In most countries, the citizens know who they're at war with. But here in the United States, it's sometimes a little difficult to keep track of who we're bombing at any given moment.
Do you know how many countries the U.S. is currently bombing?
In fact, we're currently bombing 7 different countries. The fact that we're bombing Iraq should come as no surprise. As The Onion points out, we've been bombing them off and on for about 25 years now. The other country that shouldn't come as too much of a surprise is Afghanistan. We invaded them way back in 2001 in response to the 9/11 attacks. We've been fighting there for 15 years now, and there's no end in sight. And as part of our war in Afghanistan, we're also bombing Pakistan. We're also bombing a country called Yemen. Another country we're bombing is Libya. And finally, the 7th country we're currently bombing is Somalia. Back in March, an American drone killed 150 people.
It seems as though every major international conflict ends up involving the United States at some point. Whether through lawful warfare, protecting Americans abroad, or just outright invading another country, the U.S. has imposed itself on nearly every nation on Earth.
Look at the Crusades. The Crusades had nothing to do with Mashiach, had nothing at all to do with the Most High. That's how these people live. When an Edomite thinks about something, what does he do? He doesn't think about reasoning with you. What he's going to do is he's going to say, okay, you're going to do what we say or we're going to bomb the hell out of you. Point blank, just like that. Edom is not going to negotiate with you. He is going to kill you. This is how these people are. This is they pathologic. They pathologically cannot live with other people in peace. They want to kill you. And that's how they live.
Michael Vick still, to this day, is being told that he's inhumane and that he's a criminal and he's demonized for him not even making dogs fight himself, but for other people doing it around him. But yet you got these two psychopaths who are tying up a therapy dog and filming it for fun. And understand that this is also a part of their pathology because they're violent and savage prone. That's what they do for fun. The same way that they were torturing black people for fun, it's the same way they're doing this to these animals for fun. But the mainstream media will like to keep this quiet so that you don't see it, so you don't really see the real nature of these people. Because the reason why they've been able to get away with it for so long is because they control the media, so they control what people think about them despite what they're actually doing and what their real pathology is.
It shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion. Now, a problem that I have with most people when they read the Bible or the book is that we don't try to break down each word and try to understand what those words actually mean. So I'm going to look at and focus on the word dominion. What does dominion mean? First, we're going to look at it from the Strong's, then we're going to look at the actual definition. Let's look at what the Strong says about this particular word. And let's not let any word going forward get by you. When you read a scripture or a precept, decode it. We're going to go to the Strong's Concordance, H7300. Strong's Concordance, H7300 reads, a primitive root to tramp about, that is ramble, free or disconsolate, have the dominion, be lord, mourn, and finally rule. Okay? That's coming from the Strong's. Now, let's go ahead and Google the word dominion. And this is where we're getting our definition from the Google version, dominion. And it reads, it's a noun. 1, sovereignty, control. The synonyms are supremacy, ascendancy, dominance, domination, superiority, predominance, preeminence, hegemony, authority, mastery, control, command, power, sway, rule, government, jurisdiction, and sovereignty. Now, if I look at that last, wow, that definition is powerful, because if we go back to Genesis 27:40, thou shalt have the dominion, not some dominion, not a little bit a dominion, not partial dominion. It says that thou shalt have the dominion. So if you have the dominion, what are you faced with? What are the people of the earth faced with? The people of the earth are going to be faced with white supremacy. The people are going to be faced with their control and their dominance. The people are also going to be faced with their domination of the earth and controlling everything of the earth. The people are going to be faced with hegemony, countless hegemony, and no matter what they do, their command and their power and their sway is over everything. It's over your food. It's over your people. It's over your belief system. It's over your religion. It's over your schools. It's over everything. Your educational system. Your government is part of the dominion and control. Where you live, what you think. You have been dominated.
But the truth is this.
that the reason that some communities are war zones and some are not is not at bottom about the number of guns in those communities. What makes a community safe is not the number of guns, but the number of good schools, the number of good jobs, the number of educational opportunities, the numbers of opportunities people have for living a decent life.
We do not realize that the massive deaths of black males constitute the genocide of black people, as it takes black males to make black babies and ensure future black generations. So essentially, if you take the male lion from the herd of lions, you will no longer be able to procreate lions. If you take the male organism of any population, that species no longer can procreate. So with the attack of black men, it is understood with the fear of genetic annihilation, because you have to destroy the man that holds the seed. Black men hold the seeds. We as black women incubate the seed for 9 months. 4 examples of where black men's procreation have been hindered, have been altered, have been deterred is 1, the Tuskegee experiment in Macon County, Alabama, from 1932 to 1972, where black men were intentionally given syphilis, being told they were being treated for bad blood. 2, the new Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness by Michelle Alexander, a phenomenal book where she wrote about the mass incarceration of black males with the false war on drugs issued by Ronald Reagan in 1982. Psychoacademic War on Black Male Youth, which was first educated to me by Dr. Umar Johnson, where he does an amazing example explaining where black male boys are misdiagnosed and diagnosed falsely with dyslexia, ADHD, schizophrenia, and put on these medicines that are highly toxic to the body, that are highly addictive, like Ritalin, Risperdal, causing breasts to grow on black men. And lastly, the emasculation of the black male, which has been happening and transpiring from some time.
If Esau and Edom rule, then how does that make Japheth the white man? Because if Japheth is the white man, where in the book says that Japheth will be ruler? Does it ever say that anywhere? Can somebody find me a precept where Japheth will be ruling at the end? If you can find that precept, I'll go with it. I'll go with it and I'll believe you. But if you can't find that precept, you need to stand down. Show me where Japheth is going to be ruling at any time. If you could do that, please show me that. If you could do it, I'll go with it. But if Japheth is the so-called white man, then how is it we got a problem with the book then? You got a problem with the book. The book says shall have the dominion. They are preeminent on this earth right now.
The Apocrypha, 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows.
So in looking at the account in the Apocrypha, in 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, this is a very, very interesting point. What the book says, it says Esau is the end of the world. So who do you know that is the end of the world when the world is going to be ending and they would be ruling? But then it also says prophetically that Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. Esau, you are ruling right now, and the world is about to go into the pit of darkness, and of course it's going to happen under your rulership. But Jacob is the beginning of it that follows, which means that once you be brought down by the Most High, that Jacob will go into the fullness of its rulership and start ruling the world righteously.
The book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Most High Elohim concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Most High, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nests among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Most High.
Now, if you look at Obadiah, there's only one race who acknowledges that they have dwelt in the clefts of the rock, number one, and that they come from the Caucasus Mountains, to be exact, and they call themselves Caucasians. Now, what race of people is that?
Called Petra, is also called by other names in the Bible. Selah, Mount Hor, Mount Seir, the rock city of the Edomites, and many other names.
There's only one group of people that when they were also in other parts of the earth, that they would build themselves into the clefts of the rock. You can identify them through the banner of the eagle. And who are they? They are the Edomites. They are Esau. They are the Idumeans. They are the Romans. They are the Vatican. They are Babylon. They are spiritual Egypt. They are the rulers, the wicked rulers of the earth. They are the Sodomites. They are also known as Americans.
Got nothing. He's got no power over nothing. This is a white man's country. This is a white man's world. The white man from Europe dominates the whole planet. White men goes into any country and kill everybody. Take over anything they want. This is a white man's country. It's a white man's world. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just telling you the fact of the matter. White people out of Europe have dominated Europe and have dominated Europe has dominated the world. And so England has manipulated and exploited the races, the peoples of the world. The white man has been using exploitation, commerce to manipulate and exploit the whole human race. So I cannot believe that some young black guy who walks in and he's going to take over the old white man's establishment on the earth. Ain't going to happen.
Gotta warn my people, I'm blowing the trumpet. Stay feeding you with food that don't go in your stomach. My people sell their soul for Porsches and trinkets. I can lead you to the water, but I can't force you to drink it. Overtaxing unjust barters and sales. We the ones in the cells, starving in jail, trying to get to heaven, but we already martyrs in hell. I be dropping knowledge without going to Harvard or Yale. And I ain't doing nothing, I'm doing the basics. Unplugged from the grid, unscrewed from the matrix. And we can't get a job cause the union is racist. We the ones suffering from confusion of faces. My people lost thinking we from Kemet still. And Trayvon Martin's the new Emmett Till. And if you don't understand, no love lost. I'm just washing my hands, getting the blood off. Blood on my hands, blood on my shirt, blood on my pants. I gotta get it off by doing the work. I gotta get this blood off. All my Crips and Bloods lost. You was bought with a price. How much that blood cost? Blood on my hands, blood on my shirt, blood on my pants. I gotta get it off by doing this work. I gotta get this blood off. All my Crips and Bloods lost. You was bought with a price. How much that blood cost? Living a life of crime, so we can't get employed with no work. Preacher don't know the truth, we avoiding the church. And the super rich elite enjoying their mirth. But know that you gon' be destroyed for destroying the earth. I get in the booth, pour my heart on the beat. A grown man in the game, play my part in the street. And it's gonna be harder to eat when the government release the mark of the beast. Secret society, iron and spying. We the ones sighing and crying lions of Zion. And we already in hell, frying and dying. I'm with the Aki and we sharpening iron with iron. And gangbangers say I'm the reason they stop. Cause we used to do it too, believe it or not. And now I'm tending to the sheep and feeding the flock. I got the keys to the kingdom, I'm keeping it locked. Blood on my hands, blood on my shirt, blood on my pants. I gotta get it off by doing the work. I gotta get this blood off. All my Crips and Bloods lost. You was bought with a price. How much that blood cost? Blood on my hands, blood on my shirt, blood on my pants. I gotta get it off by doing this work. I gotta get this blood off. All my Crips and Bloods lost. You was bought with a price. How much that blood cost?